All right. Joining me now is Jamie from Tear Up. Do I have that right, by the way, Jamie? Because,
Tear up.
we
Yeah,
share a
that's
language.
that's it. It's not
Perfect.
tear up.
I've always said because, English language, and I'm sure it's so many other languages, you got words that are the same word, but they're pronounced different ways. I mean, the English language is notorious for that. We share that
Yeah.
language. And so you can look at it and say, is it tear up? Is it tear up? Well, it makes more sense to be tear up, but technically, I guess it could be tear up. Maybe you guys are sad about something. I don't know.
Whenever we play in Europe, they say, "Why are you called tear up?" Because tear up is obviously a slang for fighting. It's slang for fighting here, so they don't have a clue what it means. So they're all like, "Why is it called tear up?" They're like, "Are you crying? What are you upset about?" And I'm like, "No, it's tear up, tear up."
Yeah. Well, if you pay attention to the songs, the lyrics on the two albums plus the one coming out, which I've had the fortunate thank you to you pleasure to listen to already, it makes more sense to be tear up, not tear up.
Definitely,
There's not a lot of
definitely.
tearing up going on.
No, no.
Let's get into the band. For anybody that's unfamiliar, and I'm unfamiliar with your history, I've been listening as when we talked a couple weeks ago. I've been listening to the band since Playground Politics. That was your first album. You
Yeah.
had a second album come out just a couple years ago, and then obviously a good reason to be here now is we're going to talk about that third album coming out this about a week. It's weekend now, so next week, right?
Yeah, yeah. Next week, 7th of August, we're releasing it at Rebellion Festival. And yeah,
Perfect.
hopefully it goes down as well as the other two. Well, the second one especially. The second one went down well. The first one was just meh.
You did tell me that, and it'd been a minute since I'd heard Playground Politics. I mean, there's always so many bands, and doing what I do, constantly like next release, next thing, and it's sometimes it's really hard to go back and really go back to stuff that I enjoyed. And after you said that, I thought, you know what? I guess it has been a minute since Playground Politics. I just know I liked it, and so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
went and checked it out, and I thought, all right, you're right. You're right. I mean, number two's better. It is.
yeah.
But
I knew
objectively, just say,
when we did Playground Politics, I knew we had better in us. I was just so impatient to get in a band and get playing and sort of get out there. We just sort of rushed through it. And like, well, we just got the first album repressed, and I was just looking at it earlier, and I was thinking, there's a few good songs on it. It's just all very slow, and it's not really how we play, so it don't really sound. I think if we re-recorded it, it would sound a lot better. But
is that something you'd be interested in doing then, as re-recording at
um,
some point, especially for songs that probably make it into your live sets?
yeah, maybe in a couple of years when we run out of ideas, we'll do a greatest hits CD, and we'll pull a
There you
couple
go.
off of it.
There you go. That's the way to do it. I've asked that question a handful of times, and that's typically what people say is, I don't really want to go back and redo what I've done when I've got other ideas of things that I want to still do that I haven't done yet.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I think we've got another album written, but I don't know whether we're gonna do it or what. We haven't really spoke about it yet. But I've got so many songs written, but they're just glad to be not writing at the moment. So I'm leaving them alone. Because
Or maybe
every
you'll
time I have an
write.
idea, I get a song about it. I don't know what, it's just something mad goes in my head, and I just write a whole song about it, and then I'll send it. The amount of stuff we don't use, I could probably start another band, to be honest.
You might need to for people that are going to keep up with the pace that you have.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, but yeah,
Well,
we're looking forward to getting the new one out here. Definitely.
yeah,
We
I'm,
were
I'm sure, that's always the next question. You're putting something out. Well, what's up next for the band? And obviously, you just answered that question. You got a whole other album ready. And it seems
so
like at the pace that you're doing it,
we've
you're going
got
to have two other albums ready.
Yeah, possibly. So basically we've got a year's worth of like really good gigs to go and play. We're playing some like Punk and Disorderly, some pretty infamous big massive gigs in Europe and stuff. We've got a few things further afield, possibly lined up for next year. So I think we're just gonna enjoy playing the album out for like a year or so before we think about even recording, because you don't want to just flood it. Really, you don't want to flood it. You don't want to overdo it, Do you know what I mean? And be like,
Right.
have loads of different stuff. You want people to want it to like come out. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so as long as the demand's there, we'll keep going. But yeah, we're not in a rush to plan recording anyway. Put it that well, they're not. I'd
Yeah.
I change my mind every day. I'm like, come on, let's do a couple more. Like, keep it
Well, as you
fresh.
pointed out, right? You pointed out you want to play them, so you have a bunch of cool stuff lined up. Now you'll be able to play all this stuff as new, because as you said, if you put a whole bunch of stuff out, there'll be places that you end up going to that won't even have heard repeat offenders tracks
Yeah,
new before you're starting to incorporate the next new and then the next new. But I guess on the flip side, you're going to have 3 or 4 albums written before you're ready to record the next album.
yeah, exactly. But we did actually make that mistake. We played a gig the other week, and we thought, right, we'll play loads of the new ones just to see how the crowd sort of gauge them, and we'll just play like 2 or 3 old ones. But we sort of overdone it with the new one. Like, everyone enjoyed it, but like there was no like singing along, and you've got to find the right balance. You've got to sort of work them in gradually, sort of thing. So we're sort of juggling them. We've got five in the set at the moment. So, and then yeah, we've just sort of dotted them around the set. So a couple of songs are people singing along with us. Then one they don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Right. I think with good songs, and you guys have done that with your other tracks. I mean, Oi, I think is traditionally that style of music where writing a halfway decent Oi song, even, for anybody that's doing it, and they're typically very sing along. So the first time hearing a song, especially if it's catchy, people will start singing by the end of the song. And that's a style of music that you guys are doing. So I'm sure when it's not the whole set being brand new stuff that people are unfamiliar with, those new songs, people will probably still be singing by the time that the sets or the track's over.
Yeah. So basically, I've loved like punk and Oi since I was like young, little, and I used to find I always really liked some of the lyrics in a lot of the songs, but the choruses were never really catchy. And then the ones where they were really catchy, the lyrics was really cheesy. So I tried to like make like a balance. Do you know what I mean? Not like where the choruses sing along, sort of everyone wants to get involved, but I've kept like tried to keep the anger of like the real Oi music. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
so
on that note, let's talk about what the meanings of some of them songs for you. You're writing, you're not just coming up with something. I'm sure you're kind of pulling from life experiences, most people that write songs do. Something that either you're thinking about or something that you personally went through that you probably feel other people might resonate with in some way or another. So let's talk about, I guess back up to Playground Politics. You wanted to be in a band. You've said already, you kind of jumped in because you wanted to be in the band, or start a band, not be in the band. But what drove you to write what you're writing and kind of go the direction that Tear Up has gone?
So I was actually in prison for a little while, and I was just writing, like sort of mucking around, writing songs like the Playground Politics, your King of the Car Parks. With the first album, I was just like messing around with words, because I used to go to a lot of gigs and that, and I've got like a lot of close friends that are in bands like Angry Agenda, Argy Bargy, like they're all from the same town as me, so I've grown up knowing them since little. And I sort of just said to Nick from the Angry Agenda, like, do you want any of them lyrics? Like I said, they're not very good. And he looked at them, he was like, they're actually all right. He goes, why don't you just do it yourself? And I was like, nah, well, I can't do that myself. I'm not doing that. I was like, oh, that's not me. I'm not doing that. And then I started going to a lot more gig, obviously, because when I was locked up, it was before I was 18. So I couldn't go to many gigs other than the local ones. So when I'd come out, I could go a bit further afield, and I was going to a lot of the gigs, and I was seeing some of these support bands, and I was actually thinking, God, I've never sung in my life, but I reckon I could sing better than they can. And I just thought, fuck it. I put like an ad out on the Join My Band, which is like a thing over here, which is like a Facebook for musicians, I suppose. And you sort of put your advert out, and yeah, I got threw a band together. I got a few lads from round my way. Got a drummer off that Join My Band, and that was it. And we played, and we was terrible, but I just liked it. I just liked doing it. I was like, right, let's do it. Used to drink a lot as well, like in those days. So you don't really give a fuck, do you? So yeah. So we played the first time we played. We had 3 songs and we played them twice because we weren't ready
Oh,
to
wow.
play any other songs, so we had to play the same song twice. Like yeah, we had 3 songs and we played them twice. And then during COVID, and then we was sort of playing with that album for a few years. And then we come into COVID, and I had got put in prison again. So we'd had quite an eventful few years in the band. Like, we was drinking, we was playing up at gigs, we'd been banned from festivals. No one wanted to book us. Like, we was just like a nightmare, just being young, really. And yeah, and then when I went to prison, I was like, because we was doing all right, but I still knew we could do better, and I knew that album I had better in me. It was just, as I said, like, it was a rush job. So I was back in prison, and I thought, right, I'm gonna write an album now, a good album. I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna concentrate, and because we was in COVID, we was in our cells all day, every day anyway, so I had plenty of time. I just got my head into it, and I wrote Lock the Locks, which is all about, like, obviously you've listened to it. It's all about being in prison, things to do with prison, violent. It's just like, yeah, basically, yeah, it's a story of going through prison up until sort of I get out. The wrong end of the street is sort of like the end of it. And I didn't, because of the first one, like, people liked it, but it didn't, like, sort of, like, it wasn't like anything to write home about. It was okay, I'd say, but it's like a few people liked it. But I knew that Lock the Locks was going to be better. I just knew already, because, like, the songs were more, like, close to my life, and, like, had more meaning to them, more than just playing with words that rhymed and shit, like, and trying to be funny like it was in the first one. And then yeah, once we started playing that live, it just sort of just grew and grew and grew. And, like, obviously we're not like a massive punk band, but, like, compared to what we was, we're playing all these great gigs. Everyone knows the words. We're going all around Europe, like, just because we put our heads down and we got into it. And then yeah, because that the second album was sort of half written between 2 lineups. I sort of changed lineups halfway through writing the music to the second one. So the boys wanted to do an album with just songs they'd written. So I had enough songs, and we just started working on the third one pretty much about 6 to 9 months after the second one. So yeah, and then here we are.
Here we are.
Here
You
we
guys have, you know, with all the festivals and stuff, I mean, that's a good trajectory to be going. You know, I have no idea what it takes to be a band that you can just be a band and not have regular jobs, and you're just writing music and going out on tour and playing all around.
Yeah, well, we all work. We're all grafters still.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like everybody does that. Everybody's still, you know, 99% of anybody I ever talk to, that's pretty much what it is. It's your work, and then this is the side thing that you get to do for fun. And so at least you guys are getting opportunities to therefore go do things that you might want to just go see anyway. Go see you know, you're going to play with the bands that you want to see. You're going to travel around and see Europe, and you get to play while you do it.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly that. That's what I'm saying. Look, I'm getting to travel the world with my mates for free. Like, we're self-sufficient. We're like, we don't pay for nothing anymore, really. So obviously, I have to buy myself the odd McDonald's or whatever on the road, but we're pretty well looked after. After spending years of just paying to sort of play everywhere, it's sort of got somewhere where we're not doing that anymore. So we're really enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? And we're playing these good festivals all over the place where I'm happy to do it for free because we love playing and we love meeting all the people everywhere and meeting the other bands. Like it's priceless, isn't it? And if
Right.
you do go home with 50 quid in your pocket, then it's a bonus. But we're definitely not in it for the money.
Yeah, I don't think too many people that do this, anything under the punk umbrella,
No.
you're not doing it for the money.
The thing is you can sort of make it so it's manageable and you're not putting your money into it if you're sort of on top of having t-shirts and CDs and things for people to buy. People do support you and they do buy them. But when in the first 5 years we was doing it out of a rucksack, like we weren't even setting a table up. And and that's if we remembered to bring them. So like a lot of the gigs were costing us money to do, but like we sort of got it now, so it's more organised and a little bit less chaotic.
Right. And you're obviously, because you're able to do that, it's that affirmation that you're doing something that people enjoy. You know, there's bands out there that probably spend too long in that window of not getting enough coming back to them, that those buying the merch and singing all the sing-alongs, all those things that let you know, hey, we're going the right direction because I can see all of the people that are really enjoying what you're doing. And like I said, you get to go do all these cool festivals. It's really cool because you get to go meet people that do what you enjoy, and then play created albums. I'm sure you've met tons of people. I mean, you named a few that live in your town, but you're also that next step where you've been around, you have a third album coming out, you have success. Now you're going to be also meeting the other end of that spectrum of bands that are starting out like all bands do, and they get to meet you, because you have that success, for the lack of a better term. You have the success in what they're trying to do, just as you started out, and now you're in that boat.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah, and I'll tell you another thing: we get to meet people we grew up listening to.
Yeah,
and they've sort of become our mates and things like that. Like it's so mad. Like with the first time we played with the Cockney Rejects, I used to have a poster of the man on my wall, and
right.
We're sitting there sharing a case of beer with them. It was all a bit like, whoa, this is mental. And that's what I do love about this scene. It's not impossible to like sort of meet the people you've like idolized and stuff. Like whereas if you're into like sort of indie sort of music and things like that, if you're a sort of a local band, you're probably never going to play with the likes of the Kings of Leon or whatever the big band is they listen to. Do you know what I mean? Whereas in this scene, it's not hard to sort of play with your heroes. Do you know what I mean? It's that's what I love about it.
Absolutely. One of the last conversations I had, the band No Consent, they were talking about, same type of thing, add Sham 69 to their list, add MDC to their list, bands like that they essentially same thing before they got doing stuff. And now they're playing bills, doing tours, all those kind of things with bands, just as you said, so if you put in the work, you obviously have to do something right. Cause I can pick up some instruments and try to do this. And, if I'm not doing a good job, it don't matter how much I say, I want to do this. I want to be in your shoes. You have to figure out kind of what people also want to hear. There's that other side to just putting in the hard work. But I think if you're putting in the hard work, you're probably going to figure out those things while you're doing it.
Yeah, definitely. And the internet helps a lot with it, I tell you, because I don't know how bands used to do it in the 80s and fill rooms full of people. It seems like it was a lot of work back then. Jesus, putting posters and shit on railway bridges. At least now you just press a button and everyone you know is invited.
Right, and they can share it. You don't have to peel it off of something and go to somebody and say, hey, look at this, or mail it to the next town over and say, hey, look.
But that's
look
why you've got to respect
some
of them older bands, because like they must have put the work in to get that sort of following. Because how you was all on landline phones in those days.
Right. And can you imagine, just on top of that, say playing in your hometown or somewhat regionally, people can kind of talk and, the word might spread, but to do Europe, to go from England over to Europe
Yeah.
at that point, or England to the US or Europe,
Yeah, the business
outside your
was got
country.
quite big in the US, didn't they? The business was massive in the US. And
Absolutely.
yes, it's just mental.
How'd they do it?
Yeah, how? It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly, because MTV was the thing in the 80s that spread the word, but how many punk bands, how many oi bands for that matter, were on something like that?
Yeah, we used to have Top of the Pops here.
Okay, yeah.
Top of the Pops, and Cockney Rejects was on that. The UK Subs was on that. But I can't imagine that was big in America or Europe. It was like it was like an English program that they used to put on every week with the charts.
Right. And it depends. Like, as I grew up, living 80s, 90s, probably 80s, when I was in like elementary school, stuff like that, and you hear stuff on the radio. And then as I got older, found out how many of these people singing that were on the radio here, they're from England, they're from Australia, they're from some other English speaking areas, but it wasn't the US, Canada, you know, and you're like, oh shit, I didn't realize, as you get into junior high, how did those work out? But those were probably like new wave bands and stuff like that were pop of the time, not necessarily punk bands. They were much harder to come across.
Yeah. Good ones anyway.
Right. After all of that, you have a new album coming out. Let's not forget to get there. That's coming out a week from Friday, so less than 2 weeks from.
Yeah, a week Thursday. This comes out on a Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah, that's right, because Rebellion
starts
on that day. Yes.
Yeah.
And so you guys are also playing there. So before we get to your playing at Rebellion, the album comes out. Tell me a little bit about the album.
Okay, so the album is called Repeat Offenders. We come up with, it's not a song on the title, that was just one of the names. We come up with a few names for the album, and that one we thought suited best. We've worked with Daryl Smith from Cock Sparrer. He's produced it for us. And yeah, he sort of just took it to the next level from the last one, basically, and told us how to sound like a more professional band, I suppose. But yeah, we worked really hard on it. We've spent a lot of time on it, whereas the last couple of albums we recorded, mixed, mastered within about 3 days. And but this time we've actually like really took our time on it to make sure it was how we wanted it, and everyone was like happy with it, and a lot of back and forth, bouncing tracks to each other, saying we don't like this bit, don't like that bit. And and we're happy with the outcome, and we're just looking. We hope everyone else is as happy with the outcome, because that's always the nerve-wracking thing when you've sort of had a positive reaction to your last release. You're thinking, oh, fucking hell, I hope they like it as much as they did the last one, that you sort of half panic. But I'm quite confident that this one's going to go down quite well.
I think it will too. We had a discussion before we did this, and you talked about progression, from the last release to the next release and so forth, even this one. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. But I know from doing this, from the other show that I do, SLC Punkcast, co-host, I do that with Eric. You're constantly, as stuff comes out, you're comparing a band's current work with previous work. And there's so many. Just in this past week, Eric was talking about a particular band, and, they got like 5 releases. The new one, he's like, yeah, they got some good songs on there, but nothing stands to, this particular release, which was like either their first or second, I forget offhand. Right. And so you get criticism like that potentially, and it's always eye of the beholder. I'm going to agree with you and say, I get the steps, and I like this one even better than the first 2. And quick side note, like I told you, I came across your other one, Rebellion Records, big fan of that label, and Playground Politics was on there. Until you actually reached out, I'd never even come across your second release. So I'm listening to your second release right before, you know, because you'd sent me the third one to listen to. That's when
Yeah.
I'm listening to it for the first time, because for whatever reason, just slips through the cracks for me personally, and I hadn't even heard it yet.
We
And
self-released the second one. That's why. So it didn't get advertised as well. And do you know what I mean? So yeah, we didn't do the second one with Rebellion Records, and we just decided to do it on our own. And yeah, well, we did a good job promoting it around England, but we didn't do and a part of Europe, Holland and Germany, we did quite well. But yeah, America, we didn't really get it seen over there. I don't know why, but this time I've been a lot more on everyone's sort of case to try and get it seen sort of in every corner of the world.
you know, did a good job with me, got it on my radar. That's definitely something that I want to explore more with what I do here, just because I do like it. There's been plenty. I hate to do like the end of the year, my favorites, because then there's so many. And I've gone back and looked at my list periodically, like every couple months, or a particular release comes up. I'm like, where did I rank that on that year? And then I look, and then I'll look at the albums I have around there. And at that moment, I might say this one I like better at that moment than I did when I put the thing out, right? And then there's some that come February, March, April, and I've already put out my best of list, and then I come across an album, and then actually in this case here, 2023, I come across your album that came out in 2023 in June of 2025, you know? So it's not even one of those things that I'm really looking at, you know, throwing back now. It's like, all right, well, I guess I've missed it as far as that type of thing goes, but now I'm going to enjoy it because it's here. And for me, it's like that band that has been around since the 90s, the 80s, the whenever, and then you just come across them, and all of a sudden you now have 4 albums, 5 albums, 6 albums, who knows how many albums that are all brand new to you, though they've been released over a decade, 2 decades, and so forth.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I prefer to look at it. I've listened to Playground Politics when it was new within that first, well, actually, yeah, 2018. I was listening to that when that was new. But now I got 2 brand new albums for me personally from Tear Up that I'm listening to, you know, in June and July, which is really cool.
Yeah, oh, sometimes when you listen to a band, you are like that. When it gets to the end of the album, you're like, oh, I wish there was more. But yeah, you've got more. You've got 2.
Yeah. It's all right. Here's chapter 2 and chapter 3, and I don't have to wait. You know, it's like the TV show reference. You watch the series, and then you got to wait a year, and in some case 2 years before the next comes out. And so when you start a series and they already have 3 in, you're like, oh, cool. I'm going to watch the cliffhanger at the end of series 1, and then I'm going to jump right into series 2. I don't have to wait the year. And in this case, that's what I got to do. I got to listen to the album, just like you pointed out, and then jump right into the next album. All right. Well, that's what I'm getting at, is that it's nice and it's convenient when you get a jump from one to the next. You know, that's the bright side, or the glass half full way to look at, oh man, I can't believe I missed that. I don't know how I missed that. You know, and as you pointed out earlier, it's the social media thing. But for me personally, I don't spend a ton of time. The good thing is for me, for social medias, I don't do any personal pages minus the Facebook one, because I had to have the pages for the podcast. That's how that one works. So my social media feeds is all band stuff, because that's all I want to know. I don't want to pay attention to all the other negative shit in the world, because there's not a single study out there that's going to. Yes, and people's dinner, exactly. What did you have for lunch? What did you work out today? Yes, let me know, because I want to know what you worked out today.
It's the worst one when they take a picture of a delivery that they done. They didn't even cook it themselves, and they're putting a picture of it up. I don't care, mate. Just
right.
Yeah, I'm. Social media drives me crazy, but I'd be lost without it.
Me too, because as we just discussed, without that connection, and even as I pointed out, with the connection, it could slip through the cracks. I mean, by the time you're following a couple thousand bands, you know, I don't spend enough time on there to figure out what every single band is currently up to that day, that week, or whatever. However, it decides to feed me the information. And so stuff's going to slip through even going that route. But at least you do get that connection because that the name of the podcast, Punkanoi Worldwide. I'm interested in worldwide, not just my city, not just my state, not just my surrounding states, not just the West Coast, not just the US. You keep expanding from there. I want to know what everybody's doing, because I think that music is really one of those connections where we see how much alike we are, with no matter what somebody looks like, no matter what language they speak, no matter where they are in the world. There's so many of those relatable things in sounds,
Yeah.
in lyrics. Even when I don't understand the lyrics, I can translate the title of the track and be like, yeah, I get it. I can kind of sense that you're singing about stuff like that. And now that I know, I don't have to know the rest of your language. I can just tell we're relating in that way.
Yeah. Definitely. I agree with that fully.
And you're traveling around to, we're both fortunate. English is a language that so many places, especially in Europe, they speak. So it's easy to communicate when you're there. But a lot of bands, I'm sure at shows that you're at, are also singing, and people that you meet, they might speak to you in English when you have a conversation. But then if you check out what they're doing, they're also going to sing in whatever their native tongue is. And so you're going to get a lot of that experience just by traveling around and doing what you're doing.
Yeah, we do meet a lot of bands that sing in they speak to us in English and then they sing in like their language. You get Lions Law, they sing in French. Grim, they sing in French. Who else is there? Is they? Hang on, I might be mixing them up with someone else there. But yeah, there is a good few bands we played with, and they sing in like Dutch or French or Spanish, but then they'll talk to us in English. And yeah, I'm terrible with languages. I just about get through with English. I'm trying to learn a little bit of Spanish because we holiday there quite a lot, but yeah, it's very little, very bad.
I know a little bit of Spanish because that's probably the language that's spoke second most, at least in the western part of the United States. And so I know a little bit of Spanish. And then I took French, and I'm embarrassed to say how many years I've done in French and how little I can actually speak in conversation. I can read and understand a little bit, but man, trying to have a conversation with somebody would just be embarrassing for them to be like, do you know some French? I don't think you know any French. This conversation is terrible.
Yeah, we used to be made to do French here, and I can't remember any. Obviously, hello and all and bye. But the only things I remember are swear words, and my teacher definitely wasn't teaching me that, so I don't know where I learned them.
Right. I remember curiosities. You're like, what are these other words? And you go figure out some of those other words. But yeah, as you said, some of those more important things to actually have a conversation with somebody in the language. If you don't use it, you lose it, is one of those things. Language, I think, definitely is. And
oh yeah,
I had a long gap.
And it's so hard to learn the older you get.
Right.
You just like, I can't be bothered.
Right.
Right. You're like, this is too hard.
The only way you're really going to do it is if you have somebody you can speak it to on a regular basis. If you don't have someone to speak it to,
I always try and talk to taxi drivers in Spanish when I'm in Spain. Obviously, that would look weird in England. Yeah, they're quite good. They actually try and teach you it a bit. So some of them do. Some of them are miserable, but yeah, it's probably so bad they feel like they have to teach me.
Yeah, I'm sure. To help you out, like, all right, I'll help you out with the next person.
It's the pronunciations, isn't it? It's just that you think you're saying it like them, but you're not at all.
Right. Yeah, I know exactly how that goes. And there's different dialects too, right? The Spanish I'm learning is probably more close. It's going to obviously be more closer to the way Mexicans or South Americans, but more Mexicans, because it's closer to me, are speaking Spanish. Which, to my understanding, because I haven't been to Spain and I don't speak with people from Spain that often, but it's different.
A bit different. It is different. Yeah, I've had that before. I was watching loads of videos of learning to speak Spanish. And then I went over there and started saying the words, and it turns out the fella was a Mexican.
Right?
So I was learning all the Mexican words. I was spent a couple of months learning the wrong bloody words.
Between you and me, language is different. We're both speak English, but there's different words referred to, that we would say, you would say a word and it means something different than it means if I were to say the word, at least to us, where we're from. And that even goes in the US. There's a lot of different influences in the English language in the US. You go to the Southeast into like Louisiana and stuff like that, a lot of French influence. And also island influence. So you get the Creole, and so they'll speak English, but then they're also using other words, or the way they're using the words very different. And you go to the Northeast,
slang doesn't help either, does it?
Yes, exactly. The South, like Texas, they're going to talk a little bit different than they are out west.
Where are you from?
Where I'm at. I'm from Utah, so not quite the West Coast. It's the Mountain West. The United States is usually referred to in like the West Coast, the East Coast, the South, the Midwest, and Utah is in between the Midwest and the West Coast. So the Mountain West, I guess, for lack of a better word. Nice, so I definitely don't have your East Coast accent or your Southern accent.
No, you're sort of in the middle. Yeah. To the west.
Yes. Yeah. But out west, far enough away that if you ever come to the United States, you don't want to come where I'm at first, though I would appreciate it if you did.
That's it. If I can ever get over there, I think I'll struggle to get in there.
That might be true.
We was looking into it. I don't know how I can make it happen. I've actually got a family member that lives in Boston, and I was trying to.
That'd be a great place to go.
Yeah, well, I was trying to find a way if I could get in through her somehow, but it turns out I need her to like actually die before they'll let me go there. Like they'd let me go for her funeral, but they're not going to let me go for a visit. I suppose if she was really ill, I might be able to, but I wouldn't be able to get a gig in. So we was trying to.
Bad.
Yeah, we was trying to. Hopefully one day it will happen. I've not given up hope yet. I could go down into Mexico and try come up with some of the Mexicans.
There you go. That could happen. You never know.
Yeah,
but if you go to Mexico, I don't know what kind of following you have. There's the different ways you can check. I guess people are telling you where they're from. Like, hey, I like your music. I'm from here. That's obviously one way. But the one of the good things about streaming, I know there's a lot of negatives with streaming, like Apple Music and Spotify, Pandora, and all those things. But one of the good things about it, I think, gives you an idea of where people are listening to your music from. Probably places that you might be surprised at, like, oh, geez, we have people listening to us from Japan, or wherever is a surprise to you. But maybe you have people listening to you from Mexico, and you can go play gigs in Mexico.
I'd love to go do a couple of gigs in Mexico. I'd love it. But ideally, we would want to tie like America up with that at the same sort of time. But maybe we'll have to go Mexico and go down.
Yeah,
and just
people
accept.
Get good responses. People that I talk to that go, because not as many people. Obviously, people go to Europe, people go to the US, people go to Canada. People go to probably even, I don't know, maybe Australia. Australia's probably kind of far, but you get to some of them other continents, other countries.
Oh, yeah, we've been looking into Australia as well. They're strict on immigration as well, but you can put a bond down if you've got like a resident there that sort of vouch for you. So we've been looking into that. I've been talking to Shane from Convict Class. Let's plug his shirt.
Yeah, I like Shane.
He actually pointed me in your direction, I think. Yeah, he did. Oh. Yeah.
Excellent. I like Shane.
So that's mad, isn't it? So it's gone from England. We've spoke down to him in Australia, and I've ended up coming to you in America.
Right.
The power of the internet.
Yes. And that's one of the great things about this, is that we do get to connect. As we were just talking about like 10 minutes ago, this conversation right here, and the way that we're going to present it to other people to check out too would have been so much more difficult 15, 20, 30 odd years ago, when all these other bands that came before were doing it. You get little zines that people print off and spread around and stuff like that.
I see a couple of people are trying to bring them back at the moment.
Right. Which are cool. Yeah. It's kind of that nostalgia that, you know, it's a on top of, in not in lieu of what we're doing. It's just in on top of. And another way, people like to read. Some people like
Yep.
to watch video. Some people like to listen to audio. It just depends. So, you know, different mediums, but that would have been a lot more difficult for us to have made the connection that we're making and having this
Yeah,
conversation than
definitely.
anybody who's listening to it. So what a
Definitely.
time to be alive, right?
Yep. It's great.
I hope that Australia works out. I think there's a lot of really great bands and great areas to go check out. Obviously, I would venture out to say Australia is like the US. It'd be really hard to come to the US and be like, all right, let's go hit up like 15 different states or something like that. It's like,
Yeah,
probably
so they're
not. It's probably a
they're
lot.
big places.
Yeah. It's probably easier to be like, all right, we're going to go up the East Coast or we're going to go up the West Coast, because traveling one to the other is hard. And that's the same in Australia. You got like around the coast and there's not a lot in the middle. So you're either going to pick like the West Coast into, you know, the Southern, or the East Coast. I think a lot of the bigger areas, if I recall correctly, are like the West Coast down into the Southern West area. And so that's probably makes more sense if you were to go to Australia, but you could always go to the East Coast. But to try to go from one to the other, it's huge. And there's so little in between.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We've been speaking to someone over there who said he would arrange it all for us anyway. So he would sort like the dates out and make sure it's viable and like the right direction, because we've made mistakes like that before. We had 3 dates in Germany last year, and I booked us into an airport the wrong side of Germany, and the man who'd hired the bus to drive us around had to drive 12 hours to come and get us from the right airport. Yeah,
Jeez.
I put a lot of hours onto that didn't need to be there. We done a lot of travelling. We finished our last gig and then we had to drive through the night to get to the airport.
Well, you know what? When we have a mistake that way, you learn. And so every time in the future, I'm sure you're going to make extra. You're going to double
I've
check.
never made
like,
a mistake like that again. The problem was we got booked by 2 different people for Germany, and I was talking to them both at the same time, and it was just one of them like brain errors. I just got the gigs mixed up, and I put the wrong one in for the wrong date. Yeah, so. But luckily, when we went to the other one, we flew into the right airport. We didn't go to the other side and have to come back. So.
Yeah. That's a great thing though. You get to learn, probably created an interesting story or two to tell. Sucks in the moment, but you know, one of those things that you move on from, talk about, and a nice reminder for the future when you do something like that.
Yeah, definitely more cautious, that's for sure.
Are there any places in Europe that you haven't been that you want to add to? Obviously, you've said Netherlands. You've been to Spain. I don't know if you played in Spain.
I go to Spain quite a lot, but the band has never played there. But we're due to play there in 3 weeks at Beer Beach Chaos, like a festival they do every year. And
right.
Yeah, we're playing that. We're really excited to play that. I've been nagging them since day 1 to go and play over there. And it's took me. He saw us play in Holland last year, and he was like, he goes, "You're in pole position to be on next year's lineup." So I booked somewhere to stay because I was like, I reckon we're going to get on there. And then about a month or 2 later, he messaged me and said, "Yeah, you can play." And we was happy with that. And then after that, we're off to Prague. We're going to play in the Czech Republic. Yeah. And then the week after that, we're in Berlin playing the Punk and Disorderly Festival. And then the week after that, we're in Skegness in England, and then Ireland. So yeah, we've got busy couple of months, obviously, with the album release, and couldn't ask for better gigs to be promoting it at. To be honest, they're going to be well attended, and we'll do the demolition job on the venue and sell the product.
Since a lot of those sound like they're on weekends, are those where you guys are going to fly out, do the weekend there, fly home next weekend, go? Or are you playing?
We don't really do
between?
long tours because of obviously the jobs.
Right.
So we'll do like 2 or 3 dates at once, but like we'll never do weeks on end or nothing like that. obviously, if we come to America or Mexico or anywhere, that'll be a bit different. We'll do like a week, 2 weeks probably. But yeah, we just round Europe. We just do it all in a weekend, really.
A follow-up before I get to the other part of that question is I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but you could probably hit up like the eastern area of Canada. All the big cities in Canada that you go to anyway are like on the border of the US, and people could travel over and see. So some people from the US would get to see if you went and did some of those Canadian cities.
Yeah, we was actually talking to someone about doing a festival in Canada, but I actually haven't heard nothing back in a while. I might have to chase him up, see if we can get over there next year. That'd be cool.
Montreal and Toronto, offhand, probably
I think it's in Montreal.
One of those cities.
That's where it was.
Yeah, a couple good festivals that go to both those cities. So, and on the East Coast, there's a lot of Canadian cities that are relatively close. So, helps for travel. You can hit a handful of pretty big areas in a shorter amount of time. Plus, they're also close to U.S. cities across the border, so people would travel not so far to go see you as well.
Yeah, well, if anyone from Canada's listening, get in touch.
Right? There's a bunch of great Montreal bands for sure, and even Toronto as well. So that would be a really cool to bring you guys over, and that would be awesome.
We put I put the odd gig on over in London, and we actually had Out of Order on.
Oh, awesome!
Do you know them boys, Scott?
Oh yeah, I know Scott. Absolutely. I just
crazy
talked
man.
with Scott. He's a great guy. Yes, yeah. I saw him at Crash Fest. Hung out with him for a little bit at Crash Festival in San Francisco last year. So what is it? 24. And the 2024 Crash Festival was June of that year. This year is October. So it's weird. It's already been over a year, but the festival hasn't happened this year because they moved it back later in the year. But yeah, I saw Scott last year in June.
Yeah. I like Scott. He's good stuff. He's actually playing Rebellion in a couple of weeks.
Oh, awesome. Well, you'll see him then.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Since you guys are playing at Rebellion, are you guys just going up for the weekend and hanging out at Rebellion, or are you just going up for your one show?
Nah, I'm up there. So I'm because we're playing on the Thursday. We've got to take time off work anyway. So we'll I'll be there to the end. I think a couple of lads are staying till Saturday, so we'll get a good we'll get our money's worth out of the wristband we get anyway.
That's good. And are there any bands that you're particularly excited to see, maybe haven't seen before? Because Rebellion is great. I mean,
this is that question, isn't it? Where now you've asked me, I'm going to be like,
well, while you think of it, I'm going to say that you do have the 4 days, and there's probably bands that. Rebellion does a really great job of bringing a lot of English bands in, I think. And so for me, it's like, there's so many wonderful bands. Like if I had to pick this country that has the most bands that I like, it'd probably be England. France is up there, Spain's up there, but it'd be England. And so for me, if I flew to England, odds are not likely I'd get to see a ton of those bands, because what are the odds that I would travel around, a tour of my own and go see some of these bands and get to see a lot. But Rebellion is a great place for me and other people to travel in and see a bunch of great English bands. But on top of that, it's 4 days. So they're bringing in, for everybody in England, you're bringing in tons of people from all around that you also haven't seen. So I guess that kind of leads into who's somebody that maybe they're bringing in that you're like, yeah, I haven't seen them. Or maybe bands that haven't played in a long time and you're like, oh, great, they're going to be at Rebellion this year and I haven't seen them in a while.
There was a band I caught the end of last year called Pest from Watford. I actually know them from the music studio that we rehearse at. And they were really good. I'm looking forward to seeing them next year. They've put them on a bigger stage this year. So I'm looking forward to catching them. What new bands are playing there that I haven't noticed before? Hang on. I might have to have a little look. I might have to have a little look at my list.
Yeah, you got to. I can't even run down the list. There's some festivals that their lineup. Like I'm going to go to Rebellion Festival this year, but I think in 2 days there's probably 20 bands. So I could run down that list pretty easily. You can't run down the Rebellion list because there's hundreds, well over 100 bands that'll be there throughout.
There is so many.
Yeah.
God, the Attack. I look forward to seeing them. But they're all big bands. Where's the new stage? A to Z lineup. Right, so there's a band called The Hate. They're playing.
Okay.
Their singer was the singer from a band called Antisocial from the 80s. I don't know if you remember them. I don't really know many of these introducing bands this time, but I always it's the stage in the middle, so I always poke my head in and have a good look. But Face Up, they're a really good band. They're playing. My son's favourite band, Death of Guitar Pop, are playing, so I'll go check them out. They're a ska band. They're quite good. I'll go listen to them, get a few videos for him. Yeah, and then obviously you get your UK subs and all your usual suspects that
Right.
you can't miss. And the fringe events are quite good as well. There's a lot going on outside the festival. So a lot of bands that don't get onto the lineup that maybe should be on the lineup are like normally playing in pubs. Or I don't know if you've been before. They're playing in the pubs around where the event takes place. So there's plenty of bands to see outside. Who would I say that I want to see outside? The Glory. They're a band from the 80s. They're playing from Leicester. A new band, newish, called the Meths. Have you heard of the Meths?
I have heard of the Meths. I can't think of the songs, but I know the name.
They're a two-piece. I don't really know their songs, but I've seen them play out a couple of times. They're a two-piece band, and they're a brother and sister, and they're just so good. They're just they're mental. You've got to check them out. They're really, really good.
I like the two-piece bands. You get a lot going on. I think that they're probably compensating for only two people, so they a lot of two-piece bands, when they're performing, they're moving, they're not just standing, right? But they're also figured out a way to produce a lot of noise for just two people, because again, people are used to listening to bands with 4 or 5 people. Ska bands obviously a lot more than that even, but your normal band is probably a minimum of 3, I guess, but typically 4 to 5 people. And when you only have 2 people, they've figured out a way to produce a lot of noise. Slaves, I still call them that because my t-shirt says Slaves on it. It doesn't say Soft Play.
No, yeah.
I've seen them a couple times, and there's so many great bands. I think the UK is definitely a hotspot for that style of music, with 2 to 3 members that puts out that really aggressive, I don't know what else to call it other than noise. But it's like great noise. Noise is almost a derogatory
that I was
term.
on about, they're a two-piece as well, funny enough, and they're so loud.
That's awesome.
They're the loudest two-piece band I've ever seen in my life. If you was outside the room, you would never believe that's a two-piece band.
That'd be great to see a festival full of two-piece bands.
That's a good idea, isn't it? Less expenses. Right. They can't charge you as much if there's only 2 of them.
Right. Less expensive and still entertaining, because again, they're putting out a lot of noise, and it's energy. Impressive. And exactly, it's really cool. It's a cool concept, and I think UK is probably a great place for that. So I don't know what city. Obviously somewhere mainland England.
We'll cut this bit out, or someone will steal our business idea.
Right. And I'm definitely coming over there with you. I'll be hands-on, whatever we need to do to get this set up.
Yeah.
That's great. I want to get to Rebellion. That's the top of my list. There's so many great festivals in Europe, but Rebellion
next year is 50 years of punk, and apparently there's a rumor going about they're actually doing 2 extra days. So the Monday and the Wednesday will also be. This is what I'm hearing. I don't know how true it is. I've just been reading it on Facebook, and you know how reliable Facebook is. But it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me, because it's 50 years of punk. 5 days, like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 6 days that'd be. But that's what I'm hearing. If you were gonna come to one, I'd say that'd be a good one to come to next year.
That's the one I'm going to.
You've definitely got to go. You've definitely got to go to that. Thank you. Sorry, my daughter just giving me my watch back.
How
That
often do you guys play? Is that like an every other year thing, or are there bands that
so
play back to back years?
we're actually one of the not first bands. A lot of bands have done it, but we're one of the only sort of newish bands. We've been done 3 years on the bounce. So the last 3 years we've played. So this will be the third time we've played like in a row. And
That's awesome.
so we probably won't be playing. Well, I say probably. We definitely won't be playing next year. But I'll be there as a. I'll definitely be there as a punter because there'll be loads going on. There'll be loads of bands that. There'll be loads of surprises. I think so. I'll definitely be going up for the weekend, regardless of if we're playing or not. But if we're not playing, I'm sure we'll jump on one of the fringe events outside of. And you know what I mean? We'll be involved somehow. I suppose we'll definitely be playing that way around that weekend anyway.
Oh, that's great.
That won't be a
On
wasted
that,
trip for you.
that's good. That's good. That's what I want to hear. On the festival note, so the question I never ended up asking earlier was all these festivals that you are going to be playing. You were talking about selling the merch. So what do you have for the new album? So anybody that's going to be going to any of these festivals that you guys are going to be playing post Rebellion, or I guess from Rebellion and on, because that's when you'll have the merch available. What are you going to have for the new album?
Okay, so we've got it on vinyl. Yeah, we've got the new album on vinyl, CD, and we've got it on limited edition color vinyl, and we've got 4 different T-shirts,
That's awesome.
stickers.
So obviously, all that
sort of
stuff
malarkey.
never available at a previous show. So anybody that has seen your band before, those are all going to be first time available if
Yeah,
they happen to be going to any of those shows or
yeah,
festivals.
yeah. That's it.
And it sounds like mostly festivals is what you're going to be doing over the next month or so in all those cities, in Spain and Czech Republic. And what was the other one? I think you said there
Punk
was
and
another one.
Disorderly in Berlin.
Berlin. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
we're looking forward to that one with Cock Sparrow, the Buzzcocks. So that should
Are
be
there
that
any
should be.
bands you haven't played with yet? On a bill, on a festival? Are there any that you haven't played with yet that you're looking forward to at some point maybe doing?
Well, we've never played with Cock Sparrow, but we're playing with them in Germany. So that'll be another one off the list. The Dropkick Murphys, never played with them. I'd love to play with them. And obviously, if I could just pick anyone to go and do a gig with, even though it gets a lot of it gets a lot of bad press, it also gets a lot of good press. I'd love to play with the Sex Pistols, the Frank Carter and the Sex Pistols, because I went to watch them and I thought it was brilliant. Obviously, I'd love to play with the original Sex Pistols, but you got to be realistic.
Right. I've changed my attitude probably in recent years, probably since I've been doing this. It's as you get older, you start to realize things. It's like, all right, yes, ideally, I mentioned Sham 69 earlier, right? And that
Yep.
Sham 69, that version of Sham 69 that I was talking about that No Consent got to play with and make friends with and such, they played on that same tour. They came through Salt Lake, and I went to that show and I talked about that show. It's like, hey, I went. And other people mentioned, well, it's not Sham 69, right? Because of who's not playing. It's like none of those guys are even original members of Sham 69. And I said, you know what?
Oh, you're talking about Tim V Sham?
Yes.
Yes, okay, yeah. So yeah, that's a big thing over here. I forgot about all that. So yeah, you got the Tim V Sham, and then yeah, okay.
Yeah. And my philosophy is on this. It's like, all right, if you want to hear those songs played, you're going to hear them played by who is going to be willing to play them, right? A throwback example is obviously Pink Floyd will never play, but that Australian Pink Floyd is huge worldwide because people want to see Pink Floyd songs played worldwide. And I don't know anything about them other than they're Australian Pink Floyd, which means they're not the original Pink Floyd.
Yeah,
Right. And so they're playing. And so if you want to see it, then that's what you're going to do. I got to see Sham 69 songs played. Obviously, it wasn't, there's just certain versions of bands that you cannot ever get to see play live.
Well, the original lineup are back playing, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
We played with them a couple of weeks ago.
Right. That's
And
probably not the best example, but for me in Salt Lake, I don't know that I'm going to see a better version unless I go to
yeah,
where
of
they're
course.
going to be.
Of
Uh,
course, yeah. But he was so Tim was in the original Sham. Not he's not the original singer of Sham 69, but he when Jimmy left, Tim sung. He took his place, and then
right.
when Jimmy came back, Tim started his own band and done Tim V's Sham. I think that's how the story
Right.
goes. I'm not 100% sure. Legend has
I
it.
think that's right. I think that's right. And you know what? I had a great time. I thought they were fantastic, and I'm glad I got to see them. Obviously, I would like to see the other version as well. But you either had the attitude of I don't care, I'm not going to go see Sex Pistols because it's Frank Carter and not the original, or you're going to say, hey, you know what? You either have never seen it or you still want to see it again, and so go see it in the form that it is, and then go enjoy it.
Yeah, well,
Frank Carter.
that was it. You got to see the original members of the Sex Pistols play. Never mind the bollocks. So, although it wasn't
Right.
John singing, it was still the drummer, the guitarist, the bass player, and it blew me away. I was very like, I'm only going because I don't want to miss out, sort of thing. Like, and I got there and I had the best time. Like the best time. I haven't had that much fun at a gig in like years. Because normally, obviously, when we're playing and that, you have to sort of keep your head straight and all that. But I had such a laugh. It was such a great night. I was like, we got to
That's great news.
support.
See, I would love to see it. See it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it'll get over there. I'm sure it will.
I'm hoping, like I said, come see some festivals. Rebellion's definitely top of my list, and so I assume that's probably
It wouldn't
the way I'm going to
surprise
see
me if
them.
they're on that next year. If I had to hedge a
Right.
bet, it wouldn't. But I don't know. I don't know. I obviously that's just a guess because it's 50 years of punk. It wouldn't surprise me if they got them. But I don't know what sort of money they charge and stuff, so I don't even know. But I can't see why that couldn't happen. That would be a great addition to Rebellion, especially if you was coming over.
I look forward to it, and 50 years of punk. You're if it's me putting together a festival around 50 years of punk, somewhat being the theme, I would be trying to get as many bands that were there 50 years ago as
Yeah,
I
of
could.
course, of course. Yeah,
Obviously the evolution of brand new bands playing at the 50 years of punk is cool too, because you're kind of showing we started here and we're still going because of there's new bands, but at the same time I would want to have as many that could be playing as possible.
yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, so we'll have to keep our eyes out for the lineup in a couple of weeks when they start releasing names.
Right. I'm looking forward to that. Are there any festivals? You guys are hitting up a lot of really great festivals. You've played some good festivals already. Are there any festivals out there? Obviously, that one from Montreal, I don't remember what one it is, but
Yeah.
that would be cool to add to the list. But are there any for you personally that you would like the band to go play?
Oh. Oh, Jesus.
Another one of those on the spot questions, right?
Yeah, it is. There's so many things out there. I'd love to do punk rock bowling. I'd love to do that, but obviously we're gonna have the immigration issues again. So, um, yeah, that is a very hard question. I really don't know. I really don't know. Actually, I tell you what, one I do really want to do, Revolution Calling in Holland. I've really wanted. That looks wild. I'd love to go play that.
They always get really great lineups, really cool bands. A
Yeah,
great
yeah,
boy, but a lot of great hardcore bands on that one.
yeah. It's a mix, isn't it? It's a good mix.
Yeah, that one
So
would be
yeah.
great. I appreciate the conversation's great. I'm having a blast learning about what you guys get to do, because it's really, on one hand it's distant, right? We get to keep connected. I get to see what you guys are up to when I see your social media. I get to see some posts and videos, some stuff like that. But the actual virtually in-person conversations are different, different connection that gets to
Yeah.
be made. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to get to do that. Did you say, is the new album being released on any specific label, or are you guys self-releasing that
Yeah,
one as
we're
well?
releasing on Randali Records.
Great label.
Yep. She's Diana. She's and Ollie. They've been very helpful. Yeah, done everything they can for us. helped promote, obviously, because they obviously want to sell the album as much as we do and get it out of their shed.
Right.
And then, yeah, they're so far so good with Randalia. I like working with them. They're easygoing, no stress. Don't expect too much for you. We've both stuck to what we agreed with each other. You can't ask for more than that, really, can you?
Right. Absolutely.
Everyone's straight up with each other, so we all know where we stand. Yeah. So yeah, good people. They're very good people. They had us over in April, I think. We played with Bad Manners over there and Crown Court. And yeah, we had a good week. We had a good weekend. Although I had the flu and I was taking loads of tablets, but I was taking way more than what the packet said I should have been taking. And the whole weekend just doesn't seem like it was real now. I don't know what happened. I don't know how we got through the set or what, but everyone seemed to like it. But I don't really remember nothing. It all seems like a dream.
That's awesome. That's a fun experience then, I suppose. I mean, obviously, you would probably want to remember it a little more, but when you're not feeling well, you want to feel well. And sometimes it's like, oh, the recommended dose makes you feel not bad, but you want to feel well while you're doing what you're doing, not just not feeling bad.
Yeah, it was bad. I got back home, I went to sleep, and I was starting seizing up where I took so many tablets and I hadn't drunk enough water. Yeah, it weren't great. Oh, I had a little panic attack. I thought, this is it. It's over. I had to open the door. I had to open the back door and sit and let fresh air on me for a minute just to let myself calm down.
At least you would have been going out on a high note, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, out of all the drugs that I thought might have killed me in my life, I definitely didn't think it'd be a flu tablet.
That's awesome. I appreciate you taking all the time. I would love to do this again, especially, maybe in person at some point. Yeah,
that'd be great. Well, if you're over here next year, maybe you could look at interviewing a few people or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely take advantage of wherever I happen to be because you don't always get there. And it's definitely great to be able to sit in the same room with people that you've had this discussion with too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, catch a beer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jamie, I appreciate you taking all the time that you have. I will let you get back to the rest of your Sunday.
Thank you, mate. You stay in touch, yeah?
Absolutely. Thank you. And best of luck on the release and all the festivals coming up. I wish I could be at least one of them because you definitely got a lot of great festivals lined up here in the next month.
Next year, we're going to see you at one. Next year.
Absolutely.
Thank you, brother. I'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.